There's a photograph of a man on these walls that was on the very last helicopter out of Saigon. And if you didn't know the story, you wouldn't know which picture it was. A man by the name of Tom Glenn. A man of history, a great loss to our nation when he passed. I first met Tom Glenn as a member of the American Legion Post 156. Early on that I met this gentleman, and it turned out we had a lot in common.
This weekend, Saigon itself is in peril.
Once I found out that he was the last man out of Saigon, I said, well, you're talking about Operation Frequent Wind. And he said, that's exactly right.
On April 29th, 1975, an Operation Frequent Winds officially began.
I said, you know, I served in Operation Frequent Wind. I was aboard ship only, never on land. But it was a fierce 18 hours where we evacuated 7,000 Americans and refugees from Saigon.
While the situation in Vietnam has worsened, U.S. naval forces have been moving into the South China Sea to help with a last-minute evacuation attempt if one should become necessary.
In 1975, the North Vietnamese are moving down Ho Chi Minh Trail to take over Saigon.
Today, the Associated Press says the South Vietnamese have decided to give up the 3 Central Highlands provinces of Kon Tum, Pleiku, and Dar Lac.
And the word was to evacuate, get everybody out. The ambassador, whom Tom worked for, said no.
He didn't believe the evidence I was giving him that the North Vietnamese were going to attack Saigon. He cited communications deception on the part of the North Vietnamese.
There's every indication that the Battle of Saigon may be about to begin.
And he managed to continue pumping information up to NSA as the North Vietnamese were approaching Saigon. He and 2 others remained doing their work in a skiff, and that's where all the classified work is done, and that's what he ran for NSA.
The president, at 10:50 p.m. Washington time, gave the order to evacuate by helicopter. The evacuation had begun.
The evacuation was on. I telephoned the embassy and I said, the evacuation has been declared, get us out of here. She explained to me, as one does to a child, that there was nothing the embassy could do for us because we were too far away.
Right behind me, we looked out and we saw the helicopters come in from the South China Sea and pick up people on the roof.
By then the Marines had landed. They were under the command of Al Gray. I went to Al and I said, the embassy can't get us out, can you get us out? He said, yes, I will.
Better get them on board or you're gonna lose them.
Al Gray commandeered one of his helicopters, which was piloted by a civilian, flew it into the American embassy, landed on the rooftop, went down to where Tom was sitting, knocked on the door, and said to Tom, get on this helicopter.
The war was finally over as the last chopper flew off.
Tom was on the last helicopter out of Saigon. So now that you know the story, it'd be interesting to think what you think now about that photograph, knowing what you know.